All right, what is going on, Pats Nation? You guys already know who it is. Patriots Global here, back with another video. And in this one, we are going to be talking about the Week 1 matchup versus the New England Patriots and the Miami Dolphins, where obviously New England did fall short by 1 point, 16-17. Very, very disappointing loss. Now, I'm not going to get through my takeaways in this video. If you guys haven't checked out my video where I do talk about the takeaways from this game, go ahead and check that video out after you watch this one. This one's going to be more about the guys that, I thought performed well and guys I thought didn't perform too well. Ultimately, going to be about the players versus my takeaways, which was about the game on both sides of the ball, the offense, the defense, the penalties, the fumbles. So make sure you guys go ahead and check that video out. Now, let's start with the winners. Now, my first winner on this list should be the obvious one, and that's probably the biggest winner out of all of them, and that's quarterback Mac Jones, who, if you told me, someone who doesn't know football, if you told basically someone who doesn't know football that Mac Jones was a rookie, guarantee you they would not think so. A lot of us were very surprised. A lot of us questioned the move to not go with Cam Newton Week 1, but after seeing the performance of Mac Jones in his first regular season game, because training camp, preseason is one thing, but to play against a good defense your first week in the NFL, to play the way Mac Jones did, I completely 120% understand why the Patriots, why Belichick decided to roll with Mac Jones. I genuinely cannot think of, one thing that you could ask from Mac Jones to genuinely do better. I mean, obviously outside of that fumble, he didn't make any mistakes. There was one point where he had Johnny Smith down the field for a big gain that he could have hit, but ultimately he hit James White for a simple check down. Even veteran quarterbacks in today's NFL will do so. You saw Drew Brees do it before he retired. Brady still does it. Aaron Rodgers. Just because the guy is open downfield doesn't mean 100% of the time you're going to hit him. And I do think that Mac Jones did start this game off a little bit slow and 100% picked it up as the game went on. I don't consider that to be Mac Jones, though I do believe that was Josh McDaniels and Bill Belichick, along with the New England's coaching staff, to ease Mac Jones into things, kind of start with that running game and go from there, because Mac Jones even said himself he was nervous for his first regular season start in the NFL, and I'm sure that they wanted to kind of ease him into things, so I wouldn't put that slow start onto Mac Jones either. As a rookie, Mac Jones is already coming in and breaking NFL records. I mean, Mac Jones is a legitimate candidate for Offensive Rookie of the Year. I genuinely do believe so. I think that as long as Trevor Lawrence continues to play the way Trevor Lawrence is, Mac Jones is the best looking quarterback out of this 2021 draft, and I don't see a reason that if he continues to play this way, why he cannot become Offensive Rookie of the Year. The former Alabama quarterback completed 74% of his passes, which actually broke a record for a rookie quarterback. I believe the record for completion percentage for a rookie quarterback, the best was 70%. And like I said, Mac Jones completed with 74% for 281 yards and a touchdown. Didn't throw an interception. I didn't see any passes personally that, looked like interceptable passes. So he just took care of the ball extremely well. And that stat line should be much better than it is. Would he have thrown more than one touchdown? I'm not 100% sure. But 281 yards, Mac Jones easily threw for 300 yards if you take away those dumb penalties. Johnny Smith at 1.2 got hit for a pretty big gain that did get taken back because he did slightly step out of bounds. If he doesn't step out of bounds, Mac Jones, I would say, goes for 300 yards easily. If Kendrick Bourne, those passes didn't get taken back due to the offensive line creating penalties, again, he throws for over 300 yards. So for a rookie quarterback, again, to come in, no interceptions, one passing touchdown, and to throw for technically over 300 yards is an excellent showing by him. Now, next up here is going to be the other offensive standout in Nelson Agholor. Now, Agholor wasn't 100% sure to play this game. He's been dealing with some injuries this offseason, especially as of late. Really why we didn't see him much in the preseason and haven't seen him, really towards the end of training camp. A lot of questions were coming up with what are these expectations for Nelson Agholor and is he a potential bust of a signing? But he came out and was the Patriots' best offensive piece outside of Mac Jones. He was, I would say, probably the best player outside of Mac Jones on this entire team. Agholor was able to become the number one target for Mac Jones. And that question was really building on, hey, what is that trust going to be between Mac Jones and Nelson Agholor, who many were being pinned in as the New England Patriots' number one receiver. We saw a good connection between him and Cam, but was that same connection going to occur in the regular season between Agholor and Mac Jones? And it looks like even starting off the season in just week one, that is exactly the case. In times of pressure, because Mac was under pressure a lot, in times of pressure, in times of needing to get the ball out, he was going to Nelson Agholor, and the big hits down the field, 9 out of 10 times, were going to Agholor. Now, many people believe that because of Agholor's speed, he is just simply a deep threat. But Agholor even showed, even in this game, for those who didn't watch training camp or watch my training camp recap videos, and you just simply watch this week one game, you would see that he brings that downfield threat with his speed, but he also brings short area quickness. He's able to make really nice cuts and run really good routes, which also helps him out in that short to intermediate route also. So no matter what area he is running within the Patriots offense, I think he's going to be a dynamic piece. He put up 72 yards and a single touchdown for Mac Jones' single touchdown pass on 5 receptions. So he was averaging over 10 yards per reception. If Nelson Agholor can continue to play like this and can stay healthy, I truly and easily do believe that Agholor is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver. Now, my next winner on this list is going to be running back James White, who I believe actually had a very underrated game. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about him, but for the first time since Tom Brady left, I saw the old James White. He had a very down season. We were talking about this potentially being the last year of James White, which could still potentially be the case, but with the way he is performing, he's definitely resetting his market, and he's showing to be the important piece to this Patriots offense, a go-to piece that he was while, TB12 was here. Not only was he able to come back this year, sign a 1-year deal with New England, but also was able to be a team captain, a selected team captain yet again. And in this game against the Dolphins, he was able to rack up 6 catches for 49 yards and converted 2 big third downs for New England. He is the check down king for New England. I do believe that he's going to help them out in longer pass situations also. We did see one with a beautiful dime from Mac Jones to James White down the sideline of the field to pick up a first down. But in those simple situations where there's nothing down the field and Mac Jones needs a simple dump off, he already looks like he's building that repertoire here with James White. New England definitely looks like it has some potential question marks in this backfield. Obviously, Sony traded. Rhamondre Stevenson could be redshirted. What exactly are we going to get from J.J. Taylor in the regular season? Just some questions there within that backfield, and I do believe that James White is going to serve as a security blanket for Mac Jones as he continues to develop, which is going to be extremely, extremely important when he's under pressure, when this offensive line cannot perform up to par, when there's no passes down the field. Not to mention the fact that blitz pickup with these running backs was a huge issue against the Dolphins. Rhamondre Stevenson, Damian Harris had big issues with it, but James White was really able to serve his purpose in every aspect of the game, whether it was as a receiver, whether it was as a running back, or whether it was in blitz pickup. I think he was very quiet in some people's eyes, but you go back, you look at the film, you look at the stats, and he had an excellent game. Now, my next winner on this list is going to be a defensive player this time, and I'm going to give you a second. Type in the comments who you think this defensive winner was, because I guarantee you 8 out of 10 of you are going to comment the same person, because Adrian Phillips was a huge, huge standout defensively and arguably the best defensive player New England had on the field. In coverage, he was targeted 4 times and only allowed 1 reception for -2 yards. So 1 reception he allowed, and it went backwards for the Miami offense. He also had 1 pass broken up, and he allowed a passer rating of 39.6 when he was targeted. Whether it was in the passing game or whether it was the running game, he was making play after play, especially in the running game, tackling guys behind the line of scrimmage. Tackling in general was a big issue for this defense, but it was not an issue for Adrian Phillips. Phillips was also able to record 1 pressure along with 3 stops. Now, it looks like New England is using Adrian Phillips more so in the box as a box safety going up against tight ends, which is something that going into, the preseason after watching training camp, I said I really believe New England should do because that's what Adrian Phillips was doing in training camp and was doing spectacular at it. So in this game, like I mentioned, was primarily playing as box safety. He was going up against Miami Dolphins tight end Mike Gesicki, which if any of you have Gesicki on fantasy, you would know he did absolutely nothing. Adrian Phillips was able to hold Gesicki, who is a very respectable tight end in this league, is actually more of a receiving tight end than anything else, but was able to hold him to 0 catches on 2 targets. That pressure that I mentioned earlier from Adrian Phillips was actually the pressure that he had on Tua that forced the Jonathan Jones interception. Now, my last one on this list is going to be a guy that some could argue shouldn't be on here. He didn't have an amazing game, but I think when it comes to expectations that were put on him, he more than met those expectations, and that's Jalen Mills. Now, Jalen Mills had probably, you could argue, the best defensive play. Now, that Jonathan Jones interception was great, but that pass defense by Jalen Mills in the end zone, I believe it was on Waddle, was Stephon Gilmore reminiscent. And I'm not trying to say that Jalen Mills is Stephon Gilmore, but that was an excellently timed, beautiful play by Jalen Mills. Jalen Mills actually allowed the lowest passer rating out of all New England corners against the Miami Dolphins. He allowed a quarterback rating of 47.9 when he was targeted. Jonathan Jones allowed a 70.1 passer rating. Juwan Williams had a 158.3 passer rating allowed, and J.C. Jackson allowed a 90.2 passer rating. In coverage, Jalen Mills was targeted 3 times when he was asked to be the number 2 cornerback opposite of J.C. Jackson, allowed 1 reception for 13 yards. He did have a missed tackle. That's where that 1 reception came on. And he did have that 1 pass and broken up, like I mentioned before, did allow the lowest passer rating out of any Patriots cornerback with 47.9. After a pretty rough training camp and even preseason, he performed way better than I think we were all expecting as the Patriots' number 2 cornerback. Is this the best receiver he's going to go up against all season? No. Truth of the matter is, you're going to have to go up against guys like Emmanuel Sanders and Stephon Diggs with the Bills. You're going to have to go up against the arsenal that Tom Brady has with the Buccaneers. But these receivers that the Miami Dolphins have aren't a joke either. These are very respectable receivers they have. And to be that number 2 corner and play the way that Jalen Mills did was definitely a surprise. Now, let's move on to the losers here. My first loser here is going to be Patriots offensive lineman, right tackle Justin Herron. And if you watch this game, Justin Herron was not in the game for too long before the Patriots moved on to their 3rd right tackle just in week 1 alone because they benched Justin Herron. Unfortunately, Patriots starting right tackle Trent Brown went out early in the game with a calf injury. He's going to be day-to-day. Don't expect him to play versus the Jets here, and it doesn't seem like they want Justin Herron to be that next man up, as they didn't play him for too long before they went with recently acquired offensive lineman Yasir Durant. Now, while on the field, Justin Herron allowed 2 pressures, 2 hurries, had a couple issues with flags, and allowed a had a 42.4 run blocking grade. He allowed that in 41 snaps that New England gave him offensively. Just a very, very bad showcasing here for Justin Herron, a guy who showed a lot of promise, at least to be a very good quality swing tackle for New England last season when he was drafted as a rookie. Comes in week 1, just looks absolutely horrendous, and immediately gets replaced by a guy who was just acquired a couple of weeks ago. Now, my next loser on this list is an unfortunate one, and that's rookie running back Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, I hate to say I told you so, but I did tell you so. I said that I just don't think Rhamondre Stevenson was ready to be thrown into a starting role when New England traded Sony Michel to the Rams, and I think that's exactly the case, and that's exactly what happened in this situation. New England was okay with going with Rhamondre Stevenson over Sony Michel and over J.J. Taylor, who they had as a healthy scratch this week, which I didn't agree with. Now, obviously, Damien Harris was New England's number 1 running back, but as the number 2, as that switch of pace running back, New England was going to Rhamondre Stevenson. Now, unfortunately, after Miami put a really nice offensive drive together and it was New England's offensive turn, they were running the ball down the field pretty well, or at least driving the ball down the field really well, I should say. Looked like it was going to be capitalized on a potential touchdown, at least 3 points, but Rhamondre Stevenson comes in and he fumbles what ultimately ended that drive for New England, which resulted in 0 points. The play was actually on Rhamondre Stevenson's just second touch of this game. It was a screen pass thrown to him by Mac Jones, and former Patriots Eric Rowe came in and ripped that ball out. Now, I do know the play was originally, or later I should say, looked back and officials say, okay, he actually was down. But nonetheless, the play was so close that it was originally called a fumble, and there wasn't enough evidence to bring it back. And at the end of the day, if a call is that close anyway, whether it goes our direction or not, you're still going to be a loser for letting it get to that point. You know, you have to, like I'm sure many of you have heard, you have to get to a point where you get up and you give the ball to the official. That's how you know the play is done. Not you thinking, oh, all right, my knee's down, I'm done. Because at the end of the day, if an official feels like it wasn't down and it's called a fumble and there's not enough evidence to turn it back around, whether it was a fumble or not, it's going to be called as so. You want to make sure it's not a turnover play, give the ball to the official. Now, Rhamondre Stevenson after that sat on the sideline for a little while, but Belichick said, all right, I'll give you another opportunity. Didn't give him an opportunity as a running back here, as I wouldn't expect him to, but gave him an opportunity to show him what he had at a pass-protecting running back. Unfortunately, Rhamondre Stevenson got blown up in pass protection on a 3rd and short that ultimately got Mac Jones hit. So not only is the rookie running back having issues with taking care of the ball, which is something we even saw against the Philadelphia Eagles, and is something Rhamondre Stevenson had issues with in college, but he also is missing his assignments. So this could be a situation where Rhamondre Stevenson, you just plugged yourself into the doghouse for a while until you prove that you can come back and be a ready piece for the team. And that's exactly what I was worried about with Stevenson, that he just was not ready, that there were still some kinks in his game that he proved were not ready. But the Patriots felt he was, and he came out week 1 and proved that exact point that he was not. Before we talk about my last few losers on this list, I do want to give a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video, betonline.ag, guys. BetOnline is back and better than ever, and all eyes are on the gridiron teams as we are finally back to start another football season. As always, BetOnline is your #1 spot for all the pro college football action for this upcoming season. Now, with a new updated site and interface, even more odds and props and contests, BetOnline continues to be the #1 source for everything when it comes to football. If you're interested, which you definitely should be, all you got to do is head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 100% welcome bonus. Guys, that is double your initial deposit just for signing up. Don't forget to use that promo code NFL100, all the way from football to basketball to boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Do not wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. This is BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts, and BetOnline, the fastest and easiest ways to bet on all of your favorite sports. So my last loser on this list is going to be a cornerback, and it's an unfortunate one to have to say. You can say I'm being a little picky here, but it's going to be J.C. Jackson. J.C. needs to step up big time. Now, Devontae Parker, Jalen Waddle, like I said, these are very respectable receivers, but this is not, top 10 receivers in the NFL. This is not Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, Stephon Diggs, who, until Stephon Gilmore comes back, J.C. Jackson is going to have to go up against. And J.C. Jackson was mainly asked to go up against Devontae Parker, who actually ended up finishing this game with 4 receptions for 71 yards. Now, in general, it seems like these cornerbacks for New England did have some trouble. Whether it's J.C. Jackson, whether it's Jawan Williams, who struggled big time also. These corners were having some big issues, which is definitely concerning me going forward, as this isn't going to be the toughest matchup that these corners, that New England secondary, is going to have. I mean, the rookie Jalen Waddle even brought in 4 receptions for 61 yards and a touchdown. But J.C. Jackson suffered from 2 missed tackles already in week 1. He was targeted 7 times. I mean, 7 times. as a number 1 cornerback and allowed 4 catches on those 7 targets for 68 total yards. He had 1 pass broken up and allowed a passer rating of 90.2 when quarterbacks targeted his way. I never believed that J.C. Jackson, at least at this current point, was a true CB1. When he was given the opportunity last year, he proved he wasn't CB1, and even in training camp, we saw a really good movement from him switching to CB1, but still was not a consistent CB1. When you're looking at your number 1 corner, you're looking more for shutdown, and that's not what J.C. Jackson is. J.C. Jackson is a ball hawk, which is why you're okay with him being a number 2 guy. I think asking JC to move into that number 1 spot is asking a lot more of him than ultimately he should, and I think his best play is as CB2, so I do think we could potentially see JC take a step back while he has to continue to play as the number 1 corner. But to allow 68 yards to not even a top 10 receiver, it definitely allows some position for some concern. But guys, these are going to be my winners and losers from our week 1 loss here to the Miami Dolphins, 16-17. What are your guys' thoughts on this loss and on my list? Let me know in the comment section below. Like always, remember to leave a big like on this video and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. Like always, I appreciate you guys for watching this video and supporting me and the channel. Make sure to comment your thoughts and feelings in the comment section below. And like always, I'll catch you in the next one. Go Pats!